Victoria thankfully not locking down after recording this one case in a hotel quarantine guard. There's starting to be a view in government now that while after a similar incident in Brisbane it was the right thing to lock down because there was this new variant out of Britain that tended to spread quicker, and the similar incidents in Brisbane, Perth and Adelaide, the evidence to medical officials suggests it is not the super spread of the variant that they thought it was. So earlier this week I spoke about a year of these short, sharp lockdowns, a potential for that. Here is some hope now that this can be avoided. Victoria never considered locking down over this case, is my information. The Prime Minister giving some hope in his press conference to those, which include the state governments and the federal opposition, pushing for remote quarantine facilities. He says Toowoomba is a chance, but hotel quarantine in cities has to remain.
When there are specific proposals, and we're working through one in Toowoomba at the moment, we're not working through it. We've looked at the Gladstone option and we don't believe that is a sensible thing to do. There wasn't a lot of detail on that, but the broader risks were not ones that we thought were ones that economically or particularly from a health point of view could be appropriately covered off. But the Toowoomba option we're looking at is a supplementary capacity, and writing back to the Queensland Premier today about that.
He has had 3 briefings on the Halton Review. The Halton Review makes the clear recommendation that the Commonwealth should set up a national quarantine facility.
So that's the Opposition Home Affairs spokeswoman, Christina Keneally. She makes an interesting point in relation to this, Kieran. The Halton Review by Jane Halton into the quarantine arrangement. She's a former respected senior bureaucrat in Canberra, says or talks about a national quarantine facility and talks about areas as well as Howard Springs in Darwin, like the RAAF Learmonth and other facilities that could be used for a quarantine facility out in the bush. Now, Scott Morrison doesn't seem very keen on this still, but he's opening the door slightly by saying he might agree to Anastasia Palaszczuk's idea for Toowoomba on this. There seems to be a fair argument for it. It is interesting that Jane Halton recommended that when she was commissioned by the government to undertake that.